right, we are Esplanade on air, living the dream in the district. I am Jamie Taylor, your host, and welcome to the show. This week I have a guest that is a friend of our developer and a new friend of mine. Please welcome Elmer Escobar.
Hello.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So you are actually not, you're not a resident of Arkansas, but you are here visiting, and you've done a lot of work for the Monde Group and for Blake in the past with videography and photography, things like that. So we're going to get into that. But the first thing is this the first time you've been to the new development?
Yes. This wasn't, I don't even know if it was here when we came last time. It was like a year and a half ago, I think. Yeah.
Okay, well, let's start first with, tell me a little bit about you and your background and your film and kind of what got you into this industry. And then we're going to move into what your reaction was when you arrived this time and saw what Blake was up to.
Gotcha. Okay, so originally I was born in El Salvador, but I grew up in New York. I lived there from the time I was 8 until I was 25 when I realized I hate the winter. I couldn't take another day of that. So I packed my stuff into like the littlest car, like a little Honda.
Tiny.
And it's a 2-seater. So whatever I could pack.
So minimalist by necessity?
By necessity, yeah. But I'm like, I'm not staying past December. This is the last winter that I saw was last year. So I packed it in 2010, moved to California, lived there for a couple of years, met my now fiance, and she moved to Arkansas. So that was the reason that I landed here.
Oh, so good move, fiance.
It wasn't so bad. Yeah. So and I was actually just talking to her recently because I was here, and I was like, it's crazy that like we only knew each other for like a few months. And when she told me, she's like, I have to move out there. There's an opportunity. And I'm like, I'll go with you. I'm like, whatever.
Like, well.
I'm like, we got Tank, our dog. I'm like, you guys aren't leaving. I'm going with you. Let's go. And funny enough, the move was for her to come out here. And it ended up being the best move for my career to this day.
Right.
Because when I was shooting in New York, when I was shooting in California, I was shooting for other people. When I moved to Arkansas, I was like, let me take a chance on myself. Let me see what I can do.
Yeah.
And that was financially and also for growth was the best year I ever had, was the first year here. So then when I went to California, I just kept going. I'm like, I'm not going to work with somebody else now. Let me just, every once in a while, but like, that's just because it's fun.
Well, because you want to.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's the big thing about entrepreneurship, which I love because we obviously have not met before today and we're both entrepreneurs. So there's already a vibe in the room. But I understand that because Arkansas has a different level of accessibility.
Yes.
It's different here because you can come here and stand out because it's not like New York and California, especially in that industry too. That industry is very flooded on both sides of the country as far as a lot of people move there to get into to film. And so as far as moving here, you got to see our landscape a little bit and get to know that Arkansas is not so bad, like you said.
Everyone's preconceived notion of Arkansas is silly. It's, just because you live in the coast doesn't mean that everything is here.
Right.
Honestly, a lot of things I like better here.
Well, there's a lot of things people don't even know too, as far as like just the big things that go on here.
And the beauty of the state.
Exactly. Yeah. You have number one, agriculture, and number two is tourism. So we not only solve problems by feeding the world, but then we also give you a beautiful place to sit around and watch us do it. So you're welcome.
Exactly. Yeah. And everything's a heck of a lot cheaper than living in either one of those
Well, be
states.
Careful. We don't want you to sell them too hard. We just just
we don't want this
there.
to turn into Texas with everyone going there. Yeah.
Right. Well, and this is the thing. So there's been an influx of a lot of people. In fact, a woman just left here today who's doing a lot of corporate rentals that's going to be placing some people here, hopefully, because that's the best place possible for their corporation to have employees, right? Because they want a luxury sort of hotel kind of apartment combination, which is what this feels like when you walk in, right? So tell me about when you first get here. Not only are you surprised by the beauty of Arkansas and the accessibility, and you can kind of really take a chance on yourself, but what about Blake? I mean, this guy is cool to work with. In my opinion, when we first started the Esplanade on Air show and I interviewed him, I knew from this point forward I was going to be able to meet his network and figure out who, how did he get involved with all these cool people that do work for him, and then how do those people fit into the Esplanade? So tell me first impression when you walk in the door here.
So I'll go back even to the villa.
Yeah.
So you did the villa. I lived there for a little bit.
You lived there.
Oh, did I
tell you?
That's
how you guys met. That's right. So after you moved to California, let's go back there.
So first we lived in Conway.
Okay.
And my girl, what she calls it, she goes, it feels like we're about to insult some people. I'm sorry. She's like, it feels like a truck stop. Like it doesn't feel like home. It doesn't feel like
people
what
she
wanted it to feel like. And it's just like, there's a certain vibe. Everybody has energy. So you feel at home or you don't feel at home. Right. I never felt at home in New York, by the way, living there all that time. California, I do. But after living in Conway in a house, we don't want this. So we started looking at apartments and we were looking, okay, what do we like? And we did see several places. One of them, I remember, it felt so stuffy And I'm just like, I don't want this kind of environment. Like, I still want it to feel like if there's someone at the front desk, I can talk to them like a human being.
Right.
They're not talking to me in corporate voice.
Right. They're not your concierge. They're just somebody who
talk to me
here.
like a human.
Right.
At the same time, we wanted a place that was really nice. We didn't want to move into, we're both working for ourselves, and we both work very hard. So we're like, we want to be comfortable where we live. So when I remember we saw the villas, they were still being finished. And
they
I'm
weren't
like,
even done yet.
They weren't even, and you had to, I think I must have found them on either apartments.com or Google or something like that, because they weren't listed. Like, I had to search. And when I found them, I took a drive, and I remember sending her a photo, and I go, this place looks nice. And then I called. They were very friendly. I came in, and I really liked it, even though it wasn't done. They're like, yeah, we're taking, people, because some of the units were done.
Yeah.
Exactly. And they were pet friendly with tank. That was priority.
Big one.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and then it just felt nice. It felt really nice, but it also felt like I could speak with these people, and they're not going to talk to me in corporate voice. They're going to talk to me like a human.
Right.
And I mean, yeah, it was easy. We moved in. Then we saw Blake just walking around. He's his little Porsche driving in and out. I'm like, that's the owner of the place. Okay,
most developers don't hang out on their property the way he does. As far as, he is very involved with all of his properties.
He was out there sweating right now, moving tables.
Yeah, he actually walked by when you were talking to me. He just walked by. I was like, he's like, I gotta take a break with his brother. But literally, that's the kind of guy he is. Always at work.
Yeah, exactly. And I appreciated that. So we started talking, again, very personable. We got to know each other. And I think there was one night where my fiance mentioned, she's like, it's a really pretty location. It's a really, pretty apartment. Everything looks really nice. Why don't you do some photos now while everything is still brand new? And I go, that's not a bad idea. Yeah. Grabbed my little tripod, went outside, shot for maybe 30, 40 minutes, sent them over to Blake, and I'm like, hey, dude, just want to let you know I took some photos of the place. Hope you like them. If you can find any use, go for it. And I've always been like that, Jamie. Right. It always comes from a place of what can I do for you, not what can I get from you.
Right.
And I think that's the reason that after 15 years of doing this, it's still going pretty good.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to ever feel like you're getting a better deal or I always want you to feel like you're getting a better deal. No, if anyone ever hires us, I always say that. I want them to feel like,
that's all I had to, yeah.
Yes. We had somebody, paid more. I did a family session recently, and the guy, which usually guys are just showing up.
The guys are like, why are you making me pay for these pictures? I have an iPhone.
Exactly.
Like, that is not the way this works.
And the girl, she was actually one of my friends also. So we went to dinner after, a couple hours later, we met up with them. I'm like, fancy seeing you again.
Weird.
And then she goes, when we got back in the car, he said, that guy should not get out of the house for less than X amount. And it was a few hundred more than what I charged him. I'm like, that's what I want.
Right.
That's always what I want.
But that brings you back to the ideal client you're looking for, because you had someone like Blake. You're in a situation where you showed him your value. You knew what you had. You said, if you're interested in this, I'm actually just doing this because I really like this apartment. Exactly. I've been looking everywhere. This is different. Here's some from my perspective of what you've built for people to enjoy. And then it comes out and ends up being something. You guys have a friendship now and a relationship that's lasted for years. And so I really admire that about you. But and I also, lucky number 7, I also appreciate that too, because that's kind of how our situation was, same thing. And so tell me from that perspective, because now you're a resident, and then you and the developer become friends, and you're doing all this work for him, and then now you're flying in. So that means at some point you left again. So what happened there, and how did he convince you to come back?
So we knew that it was going to be temporary. Right. When we moved to Arkansas, we knew that we were coming here for, I think it was 2 years that we were going to do, and then we were going to go back to California, because all of our friends are in California, all of our connections are in California. My fiance is a wardrobe stylist, so all her work generally is over there.
I wish she was here. Okay. I've needed one of those for 35 years. Anyways.
No, so she's, she loves her job. Who
wouldn't?
Yeah. Well, there are days that I hear stories, but generally she loves her job. And when that concluded, we just said, I'm like, well, we knew this was going to be temporary. So when do you want to go? When do you want to go back? I can't remember. I'm going to be honest with you. I can't remember if our lease was up or if Blake and the people up front were generous and cool with us, breaking it early and taking it. I can't remember which one it was. Because I remember we just stayed till the end of the month, and then packed it in, and went back.
Yeah.
So
I'm sure they were super accommodating.
I'm sure of it. I don't remember, because here's the thing: if it was negative, I would remember.
Exactly.
I
was about to say you would remember it, but your situation is that you still work with them, and here you are in the next development.
Exactly. Yeah.
Shooting it.
We became, we still stayed connected through social media.
Well, he was excited for us to meet. He was like, "This should be a fascinating story." He's really cool. I mean, it's nice to have people that you work with that like you and you like them back.
Absolutely, and that's the thing. Also, is like it should feel like a friendship. Like I want, and that's why I send Blake previews. I sent him some last night, and I even said to him, like, if there's any that need to be redone, you tell me.
Yeah,
I'm here for you. So whatever you need, that's what I'm here for.
Right.
And he was super happy. So that
that
was good. Yeah,
of course. Well, you do some great work, and I've seen the Normandy Mansion is one of my favorite. I've actually not been there.
It's
but
beautiful.
I've been looking at. Yeah, it's very beautiful. I've been checking out the content, so I'm excited. Yeah. And I went through and looked at a lot of the things that you've done, and you've really built yourself a nice career. So it's very exciting to be able to make this connection. That way, when I'm in California, when I do podcasting, I'll know who to call.
You let me know.
Yeah. But here's the thing. So when you came here, now that we know, so you're already familiar with the villa, which has more of a Mediterranean feel.
Yes.
This property definitely feels more like Florida. Definitely feels more kind of like that vibe where you go out of the country or out of the state and really see that kind of beachy.
I'm going to cut you off for a second.
Okay.
Classy Florida. Continue.
Classy. Yeah. Okay. I've only been there. But I'm telling you what, the cabanas, I have a hard time staying in the studio because I want to go hang out in the cabanas and have a block party.
I don't blame you. Yeah.
Now there's water in it. So what were you thinking when your eyes hit this thing the first time?
Honestly, when we first walked through the door.
Which camera angle do I start with?
That was one of the things, because I went, there's no bad angles. So I'm like, where okay. And then my brain started going, okay, I got to figure this out.
Yep.
But it's just very pretty, very classy. I like, everything's very clean. There's not clutter. Because that's one thing that it drives me mad, like having things
everywhere.
Me and Sergio cleaned our hotel room earlier, because when we're staying somewhere, we don't like housekeeping coming in, because we have all this equipment and stuff like that, and we don't take everything out. But we both, after breakfast, we're like, dude, we're going back and we're cleaning the place.
Yeah.
So when I walked in here, I went, everything is where it should be. There's no extra clutter. And everything, I like that.
If something is out of place here, you notice right away, because it is, like you said, it's so in order. But the other part is like, and I'll just tell you the truth, when I walked in here the first time. So when I worked the first time, there was no paint, no light fixtures, the floors were covered. So I was, impressed with the stature of the building. I liked the architectural lines, but I wasn't sure what the final product was going to look like. So the next time I came back and to check the build out of this, I'm like looking around and it's the most beautiful thing. And I go home, I'm like, you guys, I went to Instagram today. I saw the inside of it, and I know what it looks like now, because that's really what it felt like. I walked into another place where every time I took a picture, it was beautiful. Yeah. And I just really think that that's phenomenal. So what are you going to do about the pool, though? Because the water just got put in. So are you still shooting? So
we're going to, right after this, Sergio's going to use the drone, and we're going to get the logo in the pool. So we're going to get a little bit of that. And then this is, one thing that I always say as a challenge to us, and I've discussed this with my team, because something looks a certain way in person, it doesn't mean that that's how we photograph it. So there's ways of angling things so you don't see that there's still a little bit of construction going on here, or a little bit of construction going on there. Get low, get high, shoot from the side, zoom in, do what you need to do to make it look as clean as possible. And maybe next year we'll come back when it's all completed and get when it's really, really done. But at least this gives Blake some content that he can use, because it's
You're really giving me content.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know what it is? It's like you can make a post out of anything. So if I show the cabanas, you can talk about the cabanas. You can talk about, hanging out by the pool. You can do things like that until the final product is done and we can get all that.
Yeah, the full walkthroughs and tours. Yeah. And what's exciting about that for me too is, like, we had talked about this, and I'm going to kind of bring this back to the Arkansas and accessibility thing real quick, because people moving in here are very fortunate in the first phase, only because the exclusivity is crazy. I mean, you only have 92 units in the first phase, and once they're full, I mean, that's it. And so now you're dealing with, like, no one else is going to have poolside. No one else is going to have this close of access to the fitness center and the clubhouse. So when you're dealing with the schematic of this development, and you're dealing with, your job is pretty big coming in here and trying to find all that content at once and then make it available for everyone to kind of pick it apart and use it for their own stuff. So when you were here learning your craft and building your craft before going to California, can you tell me a little bit about what that felt like as far as building a business? And I know that that's actually not what we're here to talk about, but I'm going to do it anyways, because I'm really interested in how, you're still flying in and out, because this is a really good opportunity for you. And obviously you had an opportunity to build your skill set a little bit while you were here. And so tell me about that and how that worked.
So I think because when I came to Arkansas, I think I was 27 or something like that. Jesus. So
they go by fast after 25.
My goodness. Yeah. So when I came here, it was learning really. I mean, I've always been kind of a people person. I do like talk. I'm not shy. I'm very easy to.
Yeah.
Like,
I've never met you
people.
before, and we're like 20 minutes deep in a podcast. So
Exactly.
I can tell you're kind of personal.
Yeah, I don't mind talking and listening. But I think what Arkansas taught me is that we are in everything. Everything is a people business. Is if I'm going to earn somebody's business, I have to earn their trust. And they have to understand that I have their best interest in mind. When you're shooting for somebody else all the time, you never have those interactions, because really all you need to do is make sure that your boss is happy.
Yep.
Let's be honest. Most of the times, if you're doing something or shooting a job for somebody else, you're going to make sure that they don't complain. You're going to make sure that they're happy. And that's pretty much it. And you move on to the next, shoot, the next client, whatever it may be. When you're doing it yourself, there were some clients that from 5 years ago, that I'm 10 years ago, that I'm still in contact with. And they still hire us for different things. And there's a relationship that you build. And the only way you build a good relationship was with a good base of, I'm not here to get the most out of every single job. I'm here to make sure that you're happy. And I'll see you 10 years down the line still shooting.
Yeah, whenever you need me. Yep.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So in relationship building, you had some accessibility to get, I mean, obviously with this group, you kind of have a lot of development. So it wasn't just the villa, it was other properties. It was the mansion, it was things like that. Did your craft and your skill change as you were, did you get better and better at it as you went? And if so, did you?
I would hope so. Yeah.
Well, obviously you're still working here, so you're doing great. But I mean, as far as like your skill, did you take additional classes? Was it something that you just self-taught as you went? I know with us, there's a lot of self-teaching that goes on, because we'll be out and with media, as you know, there's new equipment every day. There's new technology every day. So you're constantly available to get additional things that you can learn and do.
Exactly right. And I went to school for photography, and I always tell people, don't go to school for photography.
It's a fall on your face first kind of thing, right?
You know what it is if you can find somebody that is willing to teach you, latch onto them.
Yep.
They're going to teach you way more. They're going to teach you quicker. They're going to pay you while you're learning, which is
because they know the
better.
value of it, right?
Absolutely right. So when I have somebody like Sergio, he's right out here, and he joined our team about 6 years ago, I think. And I think he was going to school for video at the time, or photo or something. I'm like, dude, don't waste your time.
Don't do that.
I'm like, listen, don't tell your parents I said this, but he was a little bit older, so
you're like,
okay.
have you not been to this channel called YouTube.com? You can learn anything.
Exactly. And that brings my next point is, as far as learning, real estate, like shooting real estate, I'm just going to put my headphones on and just watch that all day. I'm going to immerse myself. I'm going to read whatever I can. I'm going to see, because at the end of the day, the skills are already there. Like, you understand if you use a wide angle lens really, really close, it's going to stretch this.
Right.
So I know that. So now I just need to kind of tailor exactly what I'm going to be shooting real estate with and how I can use those skills there. Because usually I shoot more people.
Yep.
So now it's just a matter of, okay, now we need to get more details. We need to get more wides of this. Having a drone is nice.
The drone is killer. The footage of this place on drone is, I just can't. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be so, and the white stucco against the green, just it pops so well.
Everything looks very clean. Oh, we shot it at night also with the LEDs.
Oh, the
around
lights are ridiculous.
Yeah. I'll have Blake send over some shots. So hopefully
you can send it to me. We're best friends now.
I can send it to you.
He's kind of busy right now. He's actually still out there working. And it's like, that's one thing too, I think, that really speaks to the relationships that all of us have with each other. So before you came in here, the leasing agents were, we were talking to them on the show, and James's episode comes out, soon. And so everybody's been kind of annoyed with me because I keep pulling them in here and making them do podcast episodes, which is typically not their job description.
Yeah.
But what I've noticed that every time, and this is what Blake and I, and kind of what you and I touched on, is every time I'm here, he's here. And every time I'm here, I meet a new member of the team, and something exciting is going on, and it kind of feels more like a family and a group of people who really like each other and have good energy.
Yep.
Yes. And it just kind of like, again, we just walked in and became, boop, we're friends. And that's how it works. That's how it works at the Esplanade. So I really like that. So talk to me about this, because you travel all over the place and you're constantly shooting and you create content for a living. Tell me what it's like for you, in your opinion, to be able to move into a development that has something like this inside of it.
I would never think like this would be set up. Like when he told me like, oh, Jamie's going to call you about doing a podcast. And then I'm like, oh, I wonder where it's going to be. I thought it would be like in downtown Little Rock or something. Yeah. And then we come and shoot here. I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, that's a cool like setup that you guys have.
Kind of a novel idea.
Yeah, absolutely. And the lighting in here is pretty sweet. Like,
it is pretty sweet.
Until the sunset comes along and it starts, shooting the rays. But we got a solution for that. We're going to scrim. We were talking.
Yeah. And this is what I love too, is that when you came in here, I was telling Aaron and Roman, who are both in the room with us as well, they do all the production while we're here. And what's interesting is they are the only guys in town that I've worked with that have the level of talent and quality and control over the product at the end of the day. And from having worked here, there's a lot of people in town who have a lot of talent, but this team that we've built built, it just works perfectly in this situation because plug and play service is something that we don't have in Arkansas. Mm-hmm. And I know for you it might be different coming from New York and California. There's probably a lot of studios people can go to, plug their stuff in, do their podcast and leave. We don't have that here. Except for with us, we don't have that opportunity. And so having it, I feel like you could live here. Mm-hmm. And if you and your fiance had been here when the Esplanade was built, mm-hmm. maybe you wouldn't have left though, because maybe for her job, but still you'd have this opportunity of just developing your content here.
Yeah.
And then also being able to just have your podcast, talk about your film and video career.
If we had this, I mean, handy, I'd probably have a podcast.
Yeah. You're going to have a podcast. That's what's going to happen. We're going to figure it out. Because the way you talk about film and videography, you probably need to teach other people.
I do post every once in a while on YouTube, like videos, but that takes a little more production. Even though it's very minimal, I try to keep it as simple as possible.
Oh, I've learned about you people. You creative people have no control over this whole quality control thing. You guys are difficult. Perfectionists.
I try not to be. Because here's a line that I heard.
I don't believe people who say that in the creative world, and I'm watching right now because I'm going to wait for Aaron to roll. Their eyes are going to roll.
Yeah, I was sweating. I was like, all right, let me make sure that this is shot right. Like, it does happen. But there are certain things where it's a line that I heard. It said, don't let perfection get in the way of good enough.
Right.
And there's, and it's not to rag on anybody, but sometimes I'll watch a YouTube video and I'm like, 4 minutes, get to the point. Like we're trying to. Yeah. So when I post a YouTube video, I don't have too many, but I have a few. It's always, let's get to the point. What are we talking about here? Like what? And it's always, if someone's watching, where and what's the quickest way for me to give you something of value that you can walk away? We don't need to talk for 25 minutes on a video about an off-camera flash. I can knock that out in 5 minutes and you can walk away and know exactly what these things are going to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. And I think that's really cool because architectural photography and videography, like you talked about, is a different animal.
Yes.
It's not like people. Your subjects might not move, but the lights are weird and the paint colors. And then how do you pull that across without coloring it?
It's almost, shooting architecture in some ways is more difficult than shooting people for me. Some people, like they might climb up if they have someone in front of them, so that doesn't really
like the personal aspect, because what if the person is like just making ridiculous faces the whole time?
Exactly. Yeah. And then you're like, all right, how do I figure? You gotta.
Do you ever have that one kid in the family who like the parents don't know, but he's like,
oh yeah. Okay, that's a great question. So when we're doing family photos, I'm only paying attention to the kids because I've already told the adults what they need to do.
Oh,
the guy, hand in the pocket, put your arm around your wife. Her, put your arm. I've already told them what
they can follow directions.
Exactly. So now I just focus on get your hands out of your face.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Stop picking your nose.
Yeah. And then beyond that, that's on the parents to make sure that they behave. All I can do is direct little things like that.
Yeah. But that's nice because you can at least blame them that your kids were difficult. But at least in architecture you can't.
Exactly. Architecture that's what it looks like. Make sure that it looks the best as it possibly can, and then
essentially don't work for anyone with the Monde Group. No, I'm just kidding. But only high quality, good real estate, right? Or
it helps.
Creatively shot.
It very much helps because there are some houses that just don't look as pretty, and now you got to move a bunch of things out, move them out of the way. Now you got to move them back. Then you got to get this angle. Now that's got to go, and it's like you got to work around all those things.
Yeah.
When things are set up properly, like the unit here.
The model unit is ridiculous.
It was like I just walked in and I went, sweet. Now we just got to find the best angle for each side and we're good to go. It makes life a lot easier. Yeah.
Yeah, it sure does. It's funny too because you're talking about that and I was thinking about all the different things that have taken place around here and the weird way that the lights are everywhere. There's even neon light on that one wall when you walk outside. Did you shoot that?
We haven't. There's one piece that's missing and I'm hoping before we leave tonight that hopefully it goes up because Blake said it might be ready. If it isn't, we'll have to do it when we get back.
This is kind of wild too because it's one of those things a lot of people don't get the chance to shoot something progressive through the progress of the build, right? So when you first started shooting it was in a way different phase than it is right now. So you'll get to see it go to completion.
Right, when we come back. And then the villa, the second phase, I guess it would be, it wasn't, when we came last time, it was at the finishing break. They were still working on it.
So this is the first time you've seen it completed?
Yes.
Oh, I bet that was cool.
It was really nice because that's where we live. So I'm like, I don't remember this being here. I don't remember that being there.
Like, I wish
that looks nice.
I should move back.
We should come back and like save some money and.
I know what I know that I could keep her busy because I don't know how to dress. So.
Well, there you go.
That would be perfect. Yeah, I've had that problem for years. Well, it's interesting to me too, just because with the vibe, is it easier to shoot when you have things that are super light? And I've never asked like my own team this, but it seems like you said the lighting school. There's a lot of light that comes in here. A lot. Do you have to do something differently when you come and do architectural? Like turn off all the lights, and then do you like?
Well, you want to balance it with the outside if you want to show the outside. So right now, because there's a little bit of construction going that direction, as I was shooting it, I went, okay, I'm shooting it right to the brink where it's very bright out there, and in post, I'm probably gonna make it a little bit more blown out because I don't want to show that there's construction going on outside. If it was more where it was finished outside, then I would probably either bracket where it's shooting 3 or more different exposures on a tripod and then blending them in post. Or additionally, you can also add a little bit of flash that you bounce, which I do quite a bit, because then when you bounce the flash, you can balance the outside and the inside. Yeah.
It takes a long time to get good at this, and you've been working on it pretty hard, huh?
It sounds easy, but then I went, wait, I've been doing this for a while.
Yeah. No, that's what I love about it, because it does seem like the Blake and the Monde Group over time, because my job is now with, as far as Esplanade on Air, I mean, I have a lot of other things going on with the studio, but Esplanade on Air and this show in particular really talks about the development and the course of it and the team that's involved with it. And man, again, we talked about energy, but the people he's got working over here keep doing kicker. The jobs are ridiculous. The pool looks amazing.
It's beautiful.
Your work is great. I can't wait to see some of the previews of what you've shot while you're here. But it's one of those things where I just feel excited that we get to meet everyone involved with it and watch it come to fruition, because you don't get to do that with developments. And people think that it's very easy to execute this thing. There are 4 of us right now.
So many moving parts.
And this is one detail. We're in the podcast studio. We're not even looking at all the furniture that was delivered, the leasing agents who are walking people around. The one lady who just left was talking about corporate rentals because she needed additional amenity information. Then you got to deal with the cabanas, the pool, the next phases. Has he told you about the next phases?
He showed us the floor plan. Which I went.
You got the floor plan? Okay, yeah. I'm about to go throw a fit because I haven't seen this.
Yeah, so he showed us a little design, little plastic.
Oh, and now you've seen the model too. I'm basically gonna run out there and be like, Blake, how do I get VIP access? Yeah, this is bull.
So he showed us.
It's probably because he knows I'll say on the show what's coming up, and he's probably, like, keep it down.
Yep. So I'll give a little tidbit. I looked at what the entire scope of it is, and then I looked at what's finished, and he went, this piece is what's finished. I went, that's what's Jesus. I'm like, okay, I'm like, we'll see you next year if it's done. If not, we'll see you the next year.
Yeah, and the year after.
Yeah, it's whenever you need us, we'll be here. Because honestly, I'm happy to come out here. Sergio, I think last time came with me. I think we were in New York, and I think we passed on the way home, basically, because it's kind of on the way. So we stopped by, and then we went back. So he loves Arkansas.
Yeah. Oh, everybody loves Arkansas once you get here. It's kind of like with the Esplanade. You come here to tour it, you end up signing a lease.
No, absolutely.
But the issue with Arkansas when you come here is like, you can leave. It's fine, but it's easier to stay. And it's more fun.
And exactly. Yeah. I mean, I think about it now, and I went, wait, why were we in such a rush to go back? Like, I think about it now, and I'm like, we probably could have stayed another few months.
It was probably just because we hadn't built Jumpstart Studios yet, so you didn't have a place you wanted to come back and be full-time. So it's fine.
Exactly.
Welcome home. No, this is the most exciting thing. And meeting you for me has been really exciting, because I know that building your career, I didn't know how you had gotten really where you are right now. I went and looked at your Facebook and kind of stalked you online a little bit.
Thank you.
To figure out what you're at. Yeah, no, you did great. But it's interesting because you just know you're going to meet these other personalities and you're excited about it, but you also want to know, like, are they going to carry through the whole development? Will I be talking to you in a few years when we're sitting here talking about it, or is there going to be a new? Of course, there's not going to be a new you, but the same thing. I mean, people change.
Of course.
Property management, inspection, leasing, pool contractors, regular contractors. There's going to be so many people in and out of this project, so it's going to be great to have these tight relationships built up front, and then keep in touch with each other, so that every time you come back, I can pull you in the studio and see what you shot this time.
I'd be happy to. Yeah.
I think that's going to be great. So when are you taking off?
Tomorrow.
Oh my gosh, that's fast. Okay.
So we gave ourselves an extra day just in case it rained or anything like that. Like, in California, I don't check the weather anyway.
It's about to be like, that's a whole new complexity.
So like, I'm like, in case it rains, let's give ourselves an extra day, because we got to make sure we get those outside shots and stuff like that. So today we actually had most of it off because we finished everything quicker, because we just wanted to make sure that in case it did rain, we were already done with what we needed to get.
Okay, so then if you had a little bit of time, did you get to run around town a little bit?
Yeah, I took Sergio to Hot Springs, because I love Hot Springs.
Yeah,
it's
great.
a cool spot to check out. And then it rained on the way back, There's our huge rainbow going across the highway. I'm like, this is Arkansas. Just natural. Everything's very pretty.
Yeah, you can find diamonds at the end of the rainbow in Arkansas.
Exactly. I'm like, let's go hunt these things down. Yeah.
Yeah, you should have got that done while you were here too.
Yeah.
But what about the food? Did you get to go to North Little Rock or Little Rock and eat anywhere that you were like particularly impressed with? Because everywhere's awesome.
No, you're gonna have to tell me where. I'm about to break your heart. So I'm vegetarian.
No, you're not. So, okay. I cook vegan enchiladas all the time.
Okay, cool. Yeah, because it becomes limited, the options. So I'm not difficult though. I'm like, I'll eat anything. I don't care. Like,
there's a lot of really good restaurants around here, but if you have not tried the Root Cafe, it's down. It's got a lot of vegan and vegetarian options, and it's actually in downtown Little Rock, but it's not a far drive from here. And it is incredible. But in North Little Rock for breakfast, since you're leaving in the morning, there's a place called Mugs, and it's right on the corner across from the Argenta Plaza. It is the best breakfast. It's great coffee. Oh, probably. Mugs. It's the best one.
We're gonna. Well, actually, we're here until the afternoon tomorrow.
Okay, so go have breakfast at Mugs, and then you can hit up the Route for lunch.
See, this is my neurotic craziness. I gave ourselves an extra day just in case. And then I did the flight in the afternoon, in case.
No, this is brilliant because what happens in creative world is what? Something always goes wrong.
Exactly. So I'm like, I'm going to give myself that extra day and that entire 75% of the day in case we need that as well.
I bet you bring an extra battery when you go shoot too, don't you?
We bring like 8 batteries. Yeah.
Let's just get 8 rechargeable batteries.
I tell my team batteries and memory cards. Buy those things like Tic Tacs every single month.
You're checking out at a gas station. Can I have a memory card?
Yep, and
I need an 8 gig.
A few 128s, please. Yeah, we're good. I don't know how many I have. I think I probably have like 50 memory cards and like batteries. I think like 4 or 5. I think more. And I always have a charger with me. There's always a backup plan.
Right.
Even with surgery, since I just switched over to Sony after 14 years of being a Nikon, I said, okay, since you shoot Sony, I shoot Sony. We'll be each other's backup since, if it hits the fan, we got each other. So that way we didn't need to pack 4 cameras.
Right.
Because usually we carry a backup each.
Well, it's already kind of nerve-wracking just traveling with film equipment. I know for me, just at night when we close all this stuff up and we leave, I'm like, okay, you guys touch the equipment. Jamie's not touching it. I'm going to shut the door and leave now. But what's interesting to me about this too is planning ahead. It's a smart idea, but also leaving the state is very easy to do and coming in is very easy to do. We have this teensy-weensy airport that you just walk in and out of and just quickly get on the plane and go. So I'm sure you appreciate that part of it. But before you leave town, make sure you stop at a couple of those places because Mugs Cafe Argenta and the Root Cafe.
Root Cafe.
And I will text you this so that you do not forget.
Yes, because this is not good.
Well, not just
I write
that,
everything down.
You've also been shooting for days and days. You're traveling. I just asked you to do a podcast at the last minute. I'm sure you've got a full enough plate for me to at least tell you where to go get a full stomach.
Yes. Yeah. After everything opened up in California, it's been nonstop.
Really, just constant.
I think I've had like a day off. And when I say a day off, there's still editing to do and there's still, things that I got to deliver to my team.
This is the crazy part about that, and we'll touch on it before we close, is the post-production. People don't understand that, and that's why it's like I was talking to them before the show too, is like they work so hard doing post-production at our team, and this part is the easy part. It's easy to sit down with a talented person and get their story out of them. It's easy to talk about fun subjects, share your advice, teach someone else what you know, but when you have to sit down and detail that, and make it look beautiful, and then also make sure that your story comes across the way you want it to be told and that you look and sound the way you want to look and sound. It's a very difficult situation, and there's only a few kind of people that can really sit there and deal with that tedious nature and then also love it enough to deliver the kind of products that you deliver.
And on a timely manner. Which
I didn't say timely. I'm just kidding. We're timely, but there's days where you're like, I have 47 hours of film to edit, and I only have 3 hours to do it in.
See, we attack it heavy, and there's a new system actually. It came in, it got shipped to the house while I was here. Because we have a lot of post producers, and everything with us is done in house. So all of our, like, if you're gonna be
you have to do. Yep,
I prefer that because one, I get to pay my team a little extra to do some editing. 2, they get to learn the ins and outs. So I say, listen, if you hate post production, do it for a few times. See what the photos are supposed to look like before, what we do to them, and how they look in the final product. So now at least you know the whole flow. Right. And then if you don't like editing, talk to me. I will give you something else to do, and we're going to keep this going. So I ordered something where it's called the Synology thing. I'm going to move very, very quick.
No, take your time.
So basically, when I go home, I'm going to be able to have a drive at home where all the guys will have access to it wherever they are. So if they need to edit a job, just pull it right out of there.
They can just get as long as they have Wi-Fi. One base, right?
It's like a cloud, but at least I have a physical drive at home, again, because of a backup. And I'm very excited about that because it's going to make things a lot easier. Like, one of my editors is also in New York. He's one of my friends. It's like, hey, Mark, just grab that job. Go ahead and clean off whatever she asked us to clean off on this one and put it back in.
Some of those requests are pretty interesting. Trust me, I've been asked to edit out a few things.
Yes.
But it's funny that you say that because that's one of the things to scale a business. Mm-hmm. You have to continue to buy this equipment and grow and change and make it accessible for your people. If your people can't reach your equipment, I mean, could you imagine if you had to deliver a hard drive every single time?
Exactly.
That's a lot of driving.
Yes. Mm-hmm. A lot of driving, a lot of drives, and time.
Yeah.
You know,
time.
And that's what, or them, even like, you know, like one of my shooters drove in California with traffic. It could be 20 miles away, but you're an hour and a half to get to me.
I don't miss that.
No.
Sorry. I just straight up don't miss it. And it's funny, if I drive 20 minutes in central Arkansas, I can get from North Little Rock to Bryant. I mean,
and that's one
as long as I don't get pulled over anyways.
Right, yeah. No, I was a heavy foot. No, because in California, everyone's going like 95 and like the highways are all wide when there's no traffic.
Right.
And
so between 3 and 4 a.m. once in a while.
Pretty much. Yeah. As long as there's not doing construction at that time. Yeah. Yeah. So there's always that too.
California's like, we're not going to let anybody listen to this podcast.
Absolutely not. No.
Sorry. It's all right. We're going to do it here. Oh, I'm so excited. Thank you so much for coming on the show and telling me more about you.
Thank you for having me.
I'm excited to have you back. We're going to talk more and more about photography and the development of the Esplanade together because that is the point of this show, is to bring this thing to life. So
I'm excited to see what's going to get done here.
Well, I'm excited to build a friendship with you and have another person that I know can do quality, great work. So don't be surprised when Jumpstart gives you a call for another fly out.
Go for it. I'm with it. Yeah.
Well, I'm excited about it. It's about to be closing time in our studio, and we're about to wrap up for the day. And so before we go, I want you to give an opportunity out for our listeners to hear where they can reach you if they want to reach out to you to see more about what you do with Architect and with people as far as photography and videography.
So the best platform I would say is probably our Instagram. It's what I update every single day. I post silly stories on there too, like whatever nonsense we're getting into. And it's very easy. It's just TNK Photo. I mentioned my dog Tank earlier, so the company's named after Tank.
Nice.
TNK Photo. Only people that I tell obviously know that.
Yeah, and this is the thing that I love about that is he is the one who actually had kind of the say in you getting started at the villa anyway, right?
Exactly. Yeah, they're like, oh, they'll take dogs. Okay, we're gonna go there too. Yeah, because everything had to line up.
Deciding factor.
Exactly. So TNK Photo, if anybody wants to follow us, I've run that Instagram. So if anybody sends a message, I've had people reach out left, right, and center about like questions about photography.
Yep.
I am never too busy to respond. So as long as I have a free moment, I'll do a voice message. I actually became really good friends with someone in North Carolina. He was in California last week to hang out with us for an entire week.
That's hilarious.
That's how you connect with people.
But that's what somebody asked me about. The first episode of Block Talk After Hours we did in here was with a guy who's been hosting a podcast longer than I ever had a podcast in Arkansas. And he was like, I want to meet you. And I'm like, why? So he sent me a message on Instagram.
Yeah.
We became friends. We recorded an episode. Now we're on each other's shows. You know what I mean? It's just a really fun.
That's how you grow.
Yes. And it's how you connect and learn. And I can't learn as much as I could on my own as I can from learning from your experience and what you've done. And same thing with the guys in this room. Everyone can learn from each other. So
exactly.
This has been a really great experience. I'm so glad you had incredible energy and made it easy on me.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's been fun.
All right, you guys. Thanks for hanging out in the launch pad with me, and I will see you on site next time. To our listeners, go ahead, get some sleep. Esplanade on Air is off. Thanks.